The keys slip from Maribel Cruz's hands. They hit the frozen pavement with a sound like broken teeth. Across the street, a man drops to his knees, then his face. The impact echoes in the empty block. Maribel's breath fogs the air between them. 10 degrees, maybe less. The kind of cold that stops hearts. She should walk away. In South Brooklyn, you survive by being invisible, by keeping your head down, by pretending you saw nothing. The man doesn't move. His wool coat is too thin. Water soaks through the fabric from the slush beneath him. His shoes are ruined. His hands even from here. She sees the scars across his knuckles. Old cuts. Fresh bruises. Maribel picks up her keys. The metal burns cold against her palm. Behind her, La Estrela's neon sign flickers. 30 seats. 14-hour days. A calculator beside her pillow every night because the numbers never add up. 3 years since her husband died on a construction site nobody investigated. 3 years of bills that come early and checks that come late. The man's chest rises, falls. Barely. She takes one step toward him, then stops. People don't collapse in this neighborhood unless they're running from something or hiding. The kind of men who sit in her diner without ordering food taught her that. Another step, his eyes open. Just slits. Just enough to see her standing over him. Don't. His voice cracks. Don't call anyone. The words hit harder than the cold. Please. That word doesn't belong in his mouth. It sits there wrong. Like a gun in a child's hand. Maribel looks up and down the street. Empty. No cars. No witnesses. Just her and a stranger, who begs like a man with enemies. She unlocks the diner door. The hinges scream in the silence. Would you help a dying stranger if you knew it could destroy everything you've built? Maribel drags him inside. His weight nearly takes her down. He smells like wet leather and something metallic she doesn't want to name. She drops him into the booth nearest the kitchen. His head lolls back. His skin looks gray under the fluorescent lights. Stay with me, she says. He doesn't respond. She runs to the back, grabs every apron off the hooks, rushes back, wraps them around his shoulders, his chest, his arms. He's shaking so hard the booth rattles. The burners. She cranks all 4 to high. Heat floods the diner. The windows start to fog. Broth. She ladles it from the pot she made this morning. Chicken, cilantro, lime. Her mother's recipe. She holds the cup to his lips. Drink. He swallows. Coughs. Swallows again. Color returns to his face in slow degrees. 20 minutes pass in silence. She watches him breathe. Watches his hands stop shaking. Watches his eyes track the room like he's memorizing it. The exits first. Both doors. The window beside the counter. Then the reflections in the steel napkin holder. The angle of the security camera that hasn't worked in 2 years. The blind spot behind the cash register. You a cop? She finally asks. No. Homeless? His jaw tightens. Not exactly. Then what exactly are you? He meets her eyes. Temporarily misplaced. The way he says it makes her stomach turn. Not scared. Not grateful. Just patient. Like a man who knows how to wait for the right moment. Name's Rocco, he says. Rocco Bellandi. He says it quiet. But the weight in those syllables feels heavy enough to crack the floor. Maribel steps back without meaning to. Something in his voice tells her that names should mean something. Morning comes. Rocco is still in the booth. Maribel unlocks the front door at 6. He's sitting exactly where she left him. The aprons are folded beside him. His coat is dry now. His eyes are sharp. You should go, she says. I will. But he doesn't move. She starts the coffee, cracks eggs onto the griddle, flips tortillas. 3 regulars trickle in. They glance at Rocco. He glances back. They look away first. He stays through breakfast service, through lunch. When she brings him food, he eats slow, deliberate, like he's thinking through every bite. By evening, the question she's been swallowing all day finally breaks loose. Why can't you call anyone? Rocco stares at his empty plate. Because the people I'd call are the reason I was on that street. The diner suddenly feels smaller. Night falls. The regulars leave. She wipes down tables. He watches her work. You can sleep in the back. She hears herself say, storage room. One night. Thank you. One night becomes two. He doesn't ask for anything. Doesn't explain anything. Just accepts her help like it's a transaction she doesn't understand yet. On the third morning, she unlocks the storage room. Empty. The aprons are folded on the floor. Corners crisp, edges aligned. Like someone who learned discipline in a place where details meant survival. New note. New money. New goodbye. Just the space where he'd been. Maribel touches the folded fabric. Still warm. She walks to the front window. Scans the street. Nothing. Her chest tightens. Relief or dread, she can't tell which. But deep in her bones, she knows this isn't over. Men like Rocco Bellandi don't just disappear. They reposition. 3 days later, Dante Kreel walks into La Estrella. Everyone knows Kreel. Not because he yells. Because he doesn't have to. He wears a black peacoat. Gold watch. Shoes polished enough to see your reflection. He runs security for half the block. You pay him, or you pay later. He sits at the counter. Doesn't order. Maribel's hands shake when she pours his coffee. You're behind again, Kreel says. One finger taps the counter. Slow. Rhythmic. 3rd month running. I need more time. Time. He smiles. Teeth too white. Funny thing about time, Maribel. It runs out faster for people who think they deserve mercy. She swallows. Says nothing. Kreel leans forward. His cologne cuts through the smell of coffee and grease. I heard something interesting last week, he says. You sheltered someone. A man. Didn't ask questions. Didn't call anybody. Her heart stops. That's a valuable trait. Kreel continues. Keeping your mouth shut. Or he tilts his head. A dangerous one. Depends on who you're hiding. He slides a card across the counter. Heavy stock. Embossed lettering. Protection fee doubles next week. And Maribel? He stands. Buttons his coat. People who make my job harder tend to have accidents. Grease fires. Health inspections. Broken windows. He pauses at the door. Bad things happen to good people in this neighborhood. But you already know that, don't you? The door closes behind him. Maribel's legs give out. She sits on the floor behind the counter. Presses her palms against her eyes until she sees stars. When she finally stands, her reflection stares back from the dark window. Tired. Alone. Trapped. That night, someone spray paints the back door. Pay up. Red letters, dripping. Still wet when she finds them in the morning. She locks herself in the bathroom and cries until her ribs ache. 4 days. Then 5. Then 6. La Estrella empties out. The regulars stop coming. The lunch crowd thins. By day 6, Maribel serves 3 people all day. She counts the register at night. Not enough. Not even close. The bills stack up on the counter. Electricity. Gas. Rent. The numbers blur together. She tries to sleep, but the calculator glows beside her pillow. She runs the math again. And again. It doesn't work. It never works. She thinks about calling someone. But who? The police? In this neighborhood, cops don't solve problems. They file reports and leave. Her sister in New Jersey? Already borrowed twice. Can't ask again. Alone? From where? Her credit died with her husband. Day 7 arrives cold and gray. Maribel opens the diner at 6. Flips the sign. Turns on the lights. Nobody comes. By 10, she's staring at empty tables. By noon, she's scrubbing the same counter for the 5th time. Then the street goes quiet. Not normal quiet. The kind of quiet that makes animals hide. She looks up. A black sedan parks outside. Then another. Then another. 4. 5. 6. They line the curb with perfect spacing. Engines idling. Windows tinted dark. Maribel's pulse hammers in her throat. The doors open. Men step out. Dark coats. Hands in pockets. They don't rush. Don't shout. They just spread out along the sidewalk like pieces on a chessboard. 10 men. 15. 20. They move toward the diner in silence. Maribel drops the rag. Her hands won't stop shaking. The door opens. One man enters. Then another. They fill the diner. Block the exits. Stand against the walls. Then the last man steps through the door. Clean suit, slicked hair, scarred knuckles. Rocco Bellandi looks at her, and everything she thought she knew shatters. The plate slips from Maribel's hands. It shatters on the floor. White ceramic explodes across the tiles. Nobody moves. 20 men stand in her diner. Not thugs, not street dealers. These men were disciplined like armor. Hands relaxed, eyes scanning, positioned at every corner, every exit, every angle. Soldati. The word drops into Maribel's mind unbidden. Her husband used to whisper about men like this. Men who didn't need to threaten because their presence was the threat. Rocco steps forward. His suit fits like it was made for him. Probably was. The gray blanket is gone. The soaked shoes replaced with leather that costs more than her monthly rent. He looks at his men. His jaw tightens. "I told you not to scare her," he says. One of them, older, gray at the temple, shrugs. "You said make a statement, Capo." Capo. The word sucks the air from the room. Maribel's knees buckle. She grabs the counter. Her vision narrows to a tunnel. Just her and Rocco, and the impossible distance between who she thought he was and who he actually is. "Everyone finish your meals," Rocco announces. His voice carries. Calm. Absolute. Nobody here is in danger. The three customers sit frozen. Forks halfway to mouths. Coffee cups suspended in air. Nobody moves. Rocco walks to the counter. Slow, deliberate. His men stay positioned. Watching the street. Watching the room. Watching everything. He places an envelope on the counter. Thick. Heavy. The paper expensive. "Open it," he says. Maribel's hands shake so hard she can barely grip the edges. She tears it open. Cash. Stacks of it. Bound tight. More money than she's seen in 3 years. "You saved my life," Rocco says quietly. "This is me returning the favor." Her throat closes. She can't speak. Can't breathe. He leans closer. Close enough that only she can hear. In this neighborhood, his eyes go cold. Hard. Forgot who it belonged to. The temperature in the diner drops 10 degrees. One of his men speaks into a phone. Low, quick, efficient. Maribel realizes they're not here to protect her. They're here to remind everyone else what happens when you threaten what belongs to Rocco Bellandi. Rocco straightens, buttons his suit jacket. "Dante Kreel," he says. Not to her. To the room. "Where does he collect on Thursdays?" One of the customers, a man Maribel recognizes from the hardware store, speaks before he can stop himself. 2 blocks down. The laundromat. Always Thursdays at 3. Rocco checks his watch. "We have time." He turns back to Maribel. His expression softens. Just slightly. Just enough to remind her of the man who drank her broth and folded her aprons. "You asked me why I couldn't call anyone," he says. "The people I worked for decided I'd become inconvenient. Left me on that street to freeze. Thought the cold would finish what they started." He touches the envelope. "They forgot that loyalty isn't bought. It's earned. And you," his voice drops, "you earned mine when you had nothing to gain and everything to lose." Maribel finally finds her voice. "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done 3 months ago." He looks at his men. Kreel's been skimming from East Coast operations, pretending it's independent hustle. But the money he's taking? It comes from territory that never stopped being mine. He walks toward the door. His men move with him. Synchronized, trained. "Wait." Maribel's voice cracks. "What happens to him?" Rocco pauses, his hand on the door. "Nothing you need to see." The door opens. Cold air rushes in. The men file out in silence. Engines start in sequence. Rocco is the last to leave. He looks back once. "Keep the diner open," he says. "You won't have any more problems." The sedans pull away. Smooth. Professional. Gone in 30 seconds. Maribel stands alone in the diner. The envelope still in her hands. The shattered plate still on the floor. One of the customers stands. Drops cash on the table. Leaves without a word. Then the second. Then the third. The door closes. Maribel counts the money in the envelope with shaking fingers. It's enough to clear every debt twice over. But the price? The price is something she'll never know how to calculate. Dante Kreel doesn't make it home that night. Maribel hears about it 2 days later. Not from the news. The news doesn't cover men like Creel. She hears it from the whispers, the gaps in conversation, the way people stop talking when she enters a room. He vanished. Just gone. His car found 3 blocks from the laundromat. Engine still running. Door open. No blood. No body. No evidence. Just absence. Within 48 hours, the men who worked for him disappeared too. The card he gave her, the one with the embossed lettering, might as well have never existed. The graffiti on her back door? Painted over. Clean white. Like it was never there. La Estrella fills up again. The regulars return. New customers arrive. They order food. They pay. They leave without looking over their shoulders. Nobody mentions Creel. Nobody mentions Rocco. Nobody mentions the 20 men who stood in this diner like statues. But everyone knows. The protection money stops. Not just for Maribel. For everyone on the block. The businesses that closed, the bodega, the dry cleaner, the barber shop, reopen within a week. No fanfare. No announcements. Just doors unlocking. Lights turning on. Maribel works 16-hour days now. Not because she has to. Because customers keep coming. The calculator stays in the drawer. The bills get paid early. She hires a waitress. A girl named Shanice from 2 blocks over. Good kid. Fast learner. Why's it so busy now? Shanice asks one afternoon. Maribel wipes down the counter. Doesn't look up. Word got around, she says. About the food. Shanice nods. But her eyes say she knows that's not the whole truth. Nobody talks about what really happened. But every business owner on the block knows the same thing. La Estrella is protected. And protected doesn't mean safe. It means owned. Maribel lies awake at night wondering which is worse, the debt she owed Creel, or the one she owes Rocco Bellandi. Rocco returns 3 weeks later. Alone this time. No sedans. No Soldati. Just him in a dark coat. Hands in his pockets, standing outside the diner at closing time. Maribel sees him through the window. Her stomach drops. She unlocks the door anyway. He steps inside. Looks around. The diner's been cleaned. Repainted. New tables. New chairs. The neon sign outside finally fixed. You did well, he says. Your money helped. It was your money. Payment for services rendered. They stand in silence. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. I won't come again, Rocco says finally. Relief and disappointment hit her at the same time. Why not? Because men like me bring shadows. And you've spent enough time in the dark. He reaches into his coat. She tenses. He notices. Stops. Just paperwork, he says gently. He places a folder on the counter. Legal documents. Official stamps. City seals. The zoning dispute you've had for 2 years? Gone. The health code fine from last summer? Erased. The permit you needed to expand? Approved. Maribel opens the folder. Her hands shake. Everything he's saying is there. Signed. Dated. Real. How? Because power isn't about what you take, Rocco says. It's about what you give to the people who helped you when you had nothing. He turns toward the door. Wait. Her voice stops him. Why did you really help me? Rocco's hand rests on the door handle. He doesn't turn around. I was freezing to death on that street. You could have called the police. Called an ambulance. Either one would have gotten me killed. He looks back. But you brought me inside. Fed me. Asked for nothing. You treated me like a human being when I'd forgotten what that felt like. He opens the door. Cold air rushes in. That's not a debt you pay with money. He walks into the night. Maribel never sees him again. 5 years pass. La Estrella becomes something Maribel never imagined. 2 locations now. The original diner and a second spot in Bay Ridge. She hires 12 people. Pays them fair wages. Feeds families. The neighborhood changes. Slowly. Coffee shops open. Art galleries. Young couples push strollers past the spot where Rocco Bellandi collapsed in the snow. Nobody remembers anymore. Or if they do, they don't talk about it. Maribel keeps the story to herself. Locked tight, buried deep. But on the coldest nights when the temperature drops below 10 degrees and the wind cuts through the streets like knives, she remembers. She remembers his scarred hands, his controlled voice, the way 20 men moved like extensions of his will. She remembers the envelope. The paperwork, the quiet disappearance of Dante Kreel. She never learns what happened to Rocco. If he's still alive, still in power, still out there somewhere controlling storms she can't see. Sometimes she searches his name online. Nothing. Just silence. Like he never existed. One winter night, a man collapses outside the new location. Different man. Different circumstances. But the same cold. The same fear. Shanice runs to get Maribel. There's someone outside. He needs help. Maribel grabs her coat. Walks to the door. Looks down at the stranger shivering on the pavement. She thinks about Rocco. About Kreel. About the price of kindness in a world that punishes compassion. The man's eyes open. Desperate. Afraid. Please. He whispers. Maribel unlocks the door. Because 5 years ago, she learned something that most people never understand. Kindness doesn't always save you. Sometimes it destroys you. Sometimes it costs everything you have. But sometimes, just sometimes, it changes who controls the storm. And in a world full of Dante Kreels, you need people willing to open doors in the freezing dark, even if they never know whether they're saving an angel or inviting in the devil. She helps the man inside. The door closes behind them, and winter waits.